Oh,
Name is Lee Hazen, 88 years old. I worked for the post office 30-some years. After I got out of the Army Air Force, I enlisted in October 1942. I went to San Angelo, Texas, at Goodfellow Field. It was a basic training base for pilots. After basic training was given to us by an old Army sergeant who didn't know his left foot from his right foot. He was an old aircraft mechanic. And they sent us out. I and another kid had to take care of an airplane, PT-13A, 450 horsepower engine on it. We got out to that airplane, and here come the fuel truck to refuel it. And that kid said to me, "You know anything about it?" And I says, "I never seen one in my life."
oh my God.
And the fuel driver said, "I'll open up the petcock so I can refuel it." Hell, we didn't even know where he's at. And that old mechanic's gas truck driver said, "What in the hell are they sending us now?" And I was there till in January, and I went up to mechanic school at Amarillo, Texas. We was there till June, and the high 5% went to the Seattle, Washington Boeing factory for B-17s. From there, I was up there about 6 weeks, and I went to Las Vegas for gunnery training and Nellis Air Force Base. And from there, I was 6 weeks. I was transferred to Salt Lake City, where we made up our B-17 crews. And from there, we went to Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota. I was a flight mechanic. And from there, in December, we went to Florida. And we left Ellsworth Air Force Base. That morning, it was 32 below zero. We got down to MacDill Air Force Base in Florida. It's 85, and I like to die from the heat. And we was there for quite a little while, for a couple months.
What year was that?
In 1943. And they woke me up one morning at 2 o'clock. I had to be a flight engineer for the Colonel's Air Base. We had to go to Mexico City to pick up a crew that had ditched their airplane in the Gulf. And I thought, boy, I will get to see Mexico City. We got to Mexico City early the next morning. They wouldn't even let us off the airplane. They loaded our other crew up, had to fly back to MacDill Air Force Base. From there, we went to Lakeland, Florida, where I got my new B-17 bomber that was made in California, Douglas Aircraft. And we went up to Charleston, Savannah, Georgia, to refuel and reload to go overseas. We went down to Trinidad, South America, for overnight and refueled and went down to Fortaleza, South America. We was there 2 days, and we flew from there to Dakar, Africa, over the Atlantic. And from there we went up to Tunis, Africa, where our crews reassembled, and we made 2 flights out of there to the oil fields and bombed them in Palestine and on into Russia and reloaded and refueled. Palestine was too far from Tunis to return flight. And the first mission I went on was Udine, Italy, and where the German Focke-Wulfs, Hermann Göring's Focke-Wulfs met us, and they worked us over real bad. We lost 8 bombers that morning out of 32, and they shot our oxygen out, and we had to go down to the deck and they didn't follow us down or they would have got us too. We went to Pulaski about 5 times in March and April to bomb the oil fields and refineries. And that was one of the worst places you go. Anti-aircraft guns was stationed all around Pulaski, and they put up flak. The clouds was black. The day I got shot down was on a 26th mission over Wiener Neustadt, Austria. And we come in from the south of the target flying north, and we hit a headwind of 90 mile an hour, dropped our airspeed down to 90 mile an hour, and they worked us over. They got about 10 B-17s out of 32 that day, and we lost 1 engine over the target, and we got away from the target, and we had to go down. We was losing altitude. We lost 2 engines. 1 we couldn't feather. 1 engine wasn't working good. We only had wound up with 1 engine, number 4 engine, and we got down to 10,000 feet, and the Alps was too high for us to cross over, and we had to bail out. And we bailed out about 60 miles southeast of Zagreb, Yugoslavia, and about 10 o'clock in the morning, and we split up. There was 4 of us got on the ground. 4 of us split up, and that night I found an old barn to sleep in, and about 2 o'clock in the morning I knew that they was after me, and they had come to that old barn, and they found me in that old barn, and they took me into custody in this little town in Yugoslavia, and they interviewed me. An American woman from Pittsburgh interviewed me. She went over there and married a Yugoslav, and she got caught over there and couldn't leave. They took me up to Zagreb, Yugoslavia, where they turned us over to the Germans. And from there we went up to Frankfurt, Germany, to a big interrogation center. And they threw us in solitary confinement for 3 weeks. And from there we went up to our prisoner of war camp in northwest Poland. And we was over a week getting up there on the train. And then they set us on the railroad yards in Berlin for a week. The reason they done that, the Allies wouldn't bomb the railroad yards with prisoners of war sitting in the marshalling yards.
That's right.
And that was where I saw a trainload of young German soldiers headed for the Eastern Front. There wasn't a one of them over 15 or 16 years old. Most of them was 14. And we went up to the prisoner of war camp, and it was a new camp. There was 300 of us in there. And by fall time, there was over 12,000 men in that prisoner of war camp. And talk about losing weight, that was the place to be. You could lose weight there because there was hardly any food. And one time I didn't eat for 3 days, and they gave me a bowl of sauerkraut, and there was more ladybugs in the sauerkraut, and I was so hungry I ate ladybugs and all. And then in February or March, it was in January, the Russians got too close, and they moved us out on